Good evening, students. How are you today? I really hope you're all fine and healthy. So today our topic is about reliability and validity in qualitative research. Last meeting we already talked about data collection and how to make an instrument and also data analysis. Okay, now let's check out what the definition of reliability and validity. So you see in your slide that research studies must be rigorously conducted because they need to present insight and conclusion that ring true to readers, practitioners, and other researchers. So the two terms that ensure this is reliability and validity. Yeah. So when we would like to have a short definition, actually reliability means, let me go back, consistency, and validity means accuracy. But as you know that qualitative research does not intend to have generalizable data, so for them, reliability and validity are irrelevant, to their work because they study one phenomenon and they don't seek to generalize. In qualitative research, reliability pertains to the extent to which the study is replicable, yeah, and how accurate the research method and the techniques used to produce data. In other words, it is about the accuracy and comprehensiveness of their observation and inferences. Validity is about the consistency between the content of your research and your research objective, yeah, interpretation of observation, and whether or not the inferences are supported by the data. Validity depends a lot on the objectivity of the researchers. So researchers should be careful of her bias and preconceived notion of what she will find before she begins her research. There are three terms that you have to know about qualitative research in relation to reliability and validity: triangulation, member check, and audit trail. Some strategies that we will discuss in this presentation, yeah, in relation to validity and reliability strategies are internal validity or credibility, reliability or dependability, external validity or transferability. Let's start with the first one. When you talk about internal validity or credibility, you actually ask this question to your study: do the research findings match reality? You probably also have other questions. Yeah. How congruent are the findings with reality? Do the findings capture what is really there? Are investigators observing or measuring what they think they are measuring? So these all questions are related to internal validity. One of the assumptions underlying qualitative research is that reality is holistic, multidimensional, and ever-changing. It is not a one single fixed phenomenon waiting to be discovered or observed, like in quantitative research. Then what is actually being investigated in a qualitative study, and how the researchers try to assess the validity of those observations? What is being investigated is the people construction of reality, yeah, or in other words, how they see the world, yeah. And because human beings are the primary instruments of data collection and analysis in qualitative research, interpretation or reality are accessed directly through their observation and interviews. How to achieve credibility? Though qualitative research can never capture an objective truth or reality, there are a number of strategies, yeah, that you can do. You probably know the word triangulation, yeah. Denzin proposes four types of triangulation, as you see in your slide: multiple methods, multiple sources of data, multiple investigators, and multiple theories to confirm emergent findings. When we talk about triangulation, actually you talk about a way of comparing the findings of different techniques use of different methods of gathering data or collecting data with different samples at different times in different places to compare different approaches to the same thing. So when this result of different methods agree, then your finding can be called credible. Um, when you have triangulation with multiple methods, mean that you have more than one method. For example, you have interview and you recheck again with the data from the observation or the data from document analysis. There you have three methods: interview, observation, and documents. When you have triangulation with multiple sources of data, means that you have more one than sources of data. Yeah, you comparing and cross-checking data collected through observation at different times or in different places, or probably you comparing and cross-checking interview data from different people with different perspective, or the same people but from frequently repeated interview. When you have triangulation by using multiple investigators, meaning that you involve your friend or your colleague to help you collecting data and analyzing data. In this case, after you analyze the data independently, you come together, sit together, and discuss your interpretation, compare your finding. Member check. Member check means you get respondent validation. In this case, you are trying to get feedback from your interviewee or the one that you interview about your preliminary analysis or interpretation. You make sure whether your interpretation rings true. So you try also this thing, adequate engagement in data collection. Yeah. When you try to collect data, you always try to see data saturation. Data saturation means that the data feels like you begin to see or hear the same thing over and over again, and no new information surfaces as you collect more data. So Patton argues that credibility hinges partially on the integrity of the researchers. Yeah. And one approach to dealing with this issue is for the researchers to look for data that support alternative explanation. Yeah. Failure to find supporting evidence for alternative ways of presenting the data or contrary explanation helps increase confidence in the original principal explanation you generated. So you should purposefully seek data that might disconfirm or challenge your expectation or emerging finding. This strategy called discrepant case analysis. Reflexivity. So reflexivity is actually the process of reflecting yourself as a researcher, human as instrument. So here you need to explain your biases, disposition, and assumption regarding the research to be undertaken. Peer examination. In this case, you involve a peer to scan a raw data and ask them to see whether the findings are plausible based on the data. When you have the second strategy, reliability or dependability, you actually deal with this question. If replicated, will the study yield the same result? Reliability is actually very problematic in the social science. Why? Because human behavior is never static. Yeah? Researchers seek to describe and explain the world as those in the world experience it. Since there are many interpretations of what is happening, there is no benchmark by which to take repeated measure and establish reliability in the traditional sense. Replication of a qualitative study will not yield the same result. Yeah, but this does not discredit the result of any particular study. There can be numerous interpretations of the same data. The more important question, I think, in qualitative research is that when you ask whether the results are consistent with the data. Yeah. Rather than demanding the outsider to get the same result, a researcher wishes outsider to concur that given the collected data, the result makes sense. They are consistent and dependable. How to achieve reliability? So you have to try having audit trail. Audit trail is actually the process of describing in detail how data were collected, how categories were derived, and how decisions were made throughout the inquiry. To do this, you have to keep a research journal. Yeah, you write your reflection, your question, and the decision you make with regard to the problem, issues, or ideas you encounter in collecting data. So basically, it is a detailed account, yeah, of how the study was conducted and how the data were analyzed. When you talk about external validity or transferability, you actually talk about this question. How generalizable are the results of a research study? External validity is concerned with the extent to which findings of one study can be applied to other situations. The question of generalizability has plagued qualitative investigators for some time. Yeah? It has been argued that applying generalization from the aggregated data of enormous random samples to individuals is hardly useful. In qualitative research, a single case or a small non-random purposeful sample is selected precisely because the researcher wishes to understand the particular in-depth, not to find out of what is generally true of the many. How to achieve transferability? You try to provide your reader sufficient descriptive data, because the burden of proof lies less with the original investigator than with the person seeking to make an application elsewhere. Probably the most common understanding of generalizability in qualitative research is to think in terms of the reader or user of the study. The person who reads the study decides whether the finding can apply to his or her particular situation. Yeah. The second way to achieve transferability is by trying to have a deep discussion. Yeah. The first one you have to discuss how your findings can advance the theoretical understanding. The second, you try to give a discussion on how your research results are relevant to multiple contexts. So when we talk about reliability and validity, we also need to talk about ethics. To a large extent, the validity and reliability of a study depend upon the ethic of the investigator. The credibility of the researcher is dependent on training or experience. It also involves the researcher's intellectual rigor, professional integrity, and methodological competence. So these qualities are essential because, as in all research, we have to trust that the study was carried out with integrity, that it involves the ethical stance of the researcher. So, in summary, part of ensuring for the trustworthiness of the study, its credibility, is that the researcher himself or herself is trustworthy in carrying out the study in as ethical a manner as possible. So I think that's all my explanation for validity and reliability. I really hope you understand. But if you have any question, don't be hesitated to contact me. Thank you for watching.